Hi, Nursing 6-8. We're into week number 10. This week we're going to be looking at lifespan differences, prevention, and health promotion practices for different ages of the populations that we care for. If you're an FNP, you're able to care for individuals and populations that are at very young ages. If you're an AGNP, our age range typically starts between the 14 and 16-year-old. Depending upon your practice setting will then dictate who you will see in that age bracket. For those that are AGMPs, you do remember that when we're working with lifespan elements that we do need to stay within the scope of our practice. So I would not be able to care for an individual that was 7 or 8 years of age unless I had gone back, gotten special training or certification in that care delivery. So your objectives this week, we're going to be continuing on that theory and technology paper. And then there's a new element that's going to be interjected for you. In week number 11, you're going to start working in your CLTs on a group project, and I'll get into that a little bit more towards the end of this presentation. For your outcomes this week, it's really tagging back into what you had learned at your undergraduate level and taking it to another level of understanding. We understand the developmental differences that occur between ages, and that is something that has been honed into us as nurses since we entered into nursing school. But as an advanced practice nurse practitioner, I need to take that into account for how I plan care and the person's ability to think through processes and apply that in my planning. Remember that the young, we have to rely on their parents. Adolescents, we have to give them the autonomy to integrate into their care. And as a person gets older, they lose the ability to understand and think clearly, and their cognition can decline. And there's a hard balance in the elderly or that more geriatric patient when we give care and advice to them because we need to support who they are as an adult, but yet understand that they may not be able to care for themselves as they once could when they were a healthy adult, maybe in their 40s and 50s. So you'll be bringing those forward. There's a element here called a life course framework. This framework is interesting because some of the elements of it you have already been presented earlier on in our course. And as you review this life course framework, take a look at the elements that actually interplay in. And what are your thoughts on how these are actually elements that affect lifestyle and actually globally affect health as you have learned it? As you review over, did you get the pieces that you were supposed to get from this week's modules? Are you able to understand about growth and development and how it interplays into how you do your care development? Are you able to utilize the elements of your developmental theories to assist in developing communication strategies and education strategies? Now, that's going to be important coming up because of a project you're going to be doing in week number 11. Are you able to understand how the pieces of life course framework are embedded in the developmental theories and in the frameworks that you've used over the last several weeks to actually work to help people get better with their health and to educate them? So, some of these elements you have been exposed to already. Now we're kind of putting them all in a nutshell for you. Your reading this week is chapter 15, and there are numerous chapters or elements of chapter 15 that deal with age. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is if you want to read the whole thing, you're more than welcome to, but really just choose one chapter within this section, one that really speaks to possibly the primary focus of the practice that you really want to go into or the population that you have the most interest in, and look that over. Then check out the life course principles and look at a guide for how this actually is utilized to help people when developing goals where they really need to make major changes in their lives. I do have some supplemental reading for you. It is good reading. The podcast by John Hopkins is actually really good because it talks about all of these elements that we have actually been reviewing and going over and understanding how all these pieces come together to make up health and how environmental health and family health impacts that individual. And this particular podcast brings it all together and shows you the evolution. And as we progress with technology, our health is going to be even more greatly impacted, and the research is beginning to show that there's positive elements to it, but there also are some negative elements that are coming into play also. So you may find that podcast quite interesting. I have some information that's just brief reading for you about health promotion across the lifespan and how we do it. One of your assignments this week is writing a wellness vision or a personal wellness plan. Garrett is an exercise physiologist. He's also a life coach, and he is absolutely incredible. I apologize that his recording is a little bit on the grainy side, but what he tells you and how he tells you to put this together is really good information. We ask our patients to do this too because they'll come with you with multiple health problems, and you have to try and figure out where do you start. You can't address all nine of their problems because it's impossible. That's like overload and nothing will ever get done. So tailor those patients' needs to what their life goals are. And from their life goals and the medical problems you see, look if you can collaborate to come up with a plan that could work for the patient. And that's how we use this in the practice world. So for this particular assignment, you're going to create a wellness vision, which is kind of like the instructions say. It's a to-do list of things you want to do. They're visions of where you want to be and what you want to be. So in these wellness visions, you're going to be looking at defining your best self. Who do I want to be when it comes to health, wellness, and fitness? Who do I want to be? For your behaviors, what do I want to do consistently and what is aligned with my best self? Outcomes. What do I have to have happen as a result? And your motivators. What does this matter to me? Do I want to feel better? Do I want to be happier? Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to have more strength? Do I want to have energy? Do I want my mind to be more at peace with the world? What do you want? What do your patients want? So I've given you an example here of writing a wellness statement. I care deeply about myself and know that I need to make changes in order to improve my health. I have the ability to organize my time to include exercise. I can learn how to eat healthier, and most importantly, I will take time for myself to improve my life work balance. Now, that is a wellness statement, strong and explicit. I want you to develop a wellness statement. So, make a wellness statement that identifies the four characteristics of that interplay into wellness. And then once you have your wellness vision, then I want you to set goals to try to achieve that wellness vision. And for your goals, I'm asking you to write at a minimum 3 goals. So I've given you several examples to write from. So I want you to go out there and give this a try. So write yourself your wellness vision and then write 3 goals that you will need to implement or need to try to achieve in order to make that wellness vision a reality. Again, your theory and technology paper, it is due this week, and I've been talking about this with you now for about the last 2.5 weeks. Again, this does have to be a very organized and concise paper, asking you to please use headings. I appreciate the questions that have been coming forth from you in relationship to this paper. The blue elements are the elements that I added to try and give better clarity with respect to the reference points. And each of these sections, in order to get proficient, you have to have at least one reference per bullet point. If you want an exemplary grade for this paper, when you're addressing each of those bullet points, so let's take number one for example. It says analyze the literature, and there's three bullet points. So explaining how technology can promote achievement of positive health behaviors. That element of question number one, I need to have two references for that part of this question in order to be able to even get an exemplary grade scoring. The second one, discuss how programs such as Spark People can be utilized to promote independence. I have to have at least two articles there to get an exemplary. It requires one. If you want to push to the exemplary, you need to have two. And these, for each of those bullet points, you can have an article that is a really good article that talks about technology and the different types, and it applies to all three of those. That's one article. The second article has to be different from the first. So you can't twice cite the same article under the bullet points. I hope that makes sense. Again, each of the elements, I'm asking you to please be concise with your information. Really read it aloud to yourself when you finish writing this whole paper. Reading it aloud helps you to understand actually where you should be doing your breakpoints in your paragraphs. Remember that a paragraph cannot be longer than one full page. And if you're getting to one full page and it goes on to the next, it's too long. You need to go back and look for a breakpoint some point within that paragraph. So looking back at this paper, what is it you're asked to write about? You're being asked to analyze the literature with respect to technology and health promotion. Answer the three questions. Explain how utilizing health promotion technology can be used to address diverse clients and populations. Identify how to use telecommunication technology tools such as telehealth tools in improving communication within primary healthcare settings. I need you to identify appropriate health promotion theory and a model to use as a framework to integrate theory into. So you're going to choose that model, and you've been looking at them last week. And then I need you to explain that theory and how it actually works for health promotion. And then after you've chosen that theory, I need you to explain to me how that supports the nurse practitioner role as part of the healthcare team. And the last element was you're to draw me a conceptual model, your way, the way your brain thinks, that depicts the integration of technology as an intervention to help an individual. I have the formatting elements for your paper. Remember the title page, the introduction to the paper. Remember that when you get from the title page to the second page, which would be page number 2, that the title of the paper is the first thing that goes on that page before you start writing the body of the paper. I don't want to take points off, and I have been taking points off, so help me to give you those points by putting that title on that second page before you start the body of your paper. On your reference page, please make sure that you look at your 6th edition APA book, especially I've been writing comments to you that your APA is incorrect and that you need to reference back onto your APA books. So please make sure you're doing that. Again, I don't want to take points off. I want to give you your maximum points that you have achieved. Again, if you have any questions in relationship to this paper, please make sure you let me know. Moving on into your next and final large assignment, this is a group assignment that you'll be doing in your CLT groups, and it's actually a poster. Now, there are two elements to this poster assignment. There's a paper portion, and then there's the poster portion. For this assignment, in your CLTs, you are going to need to decide as a team how you are going to do this project. There's a lot of work in some ways, but in a lot of ways not, because you already have all the elements. You just have to put them together. Do you as a group want to have somebody who is your lead coordinator for this particular project assignment? This person would be the person that would help all of you facilitate to assure that work gets completed in a timely fashion. They would review the submission prior to admission of it to the assignment link for grammar, APA formatting, visual appeal, etc. They would also be the person that, after the poster was completed and the paper written by the group, would be the person to submit it to the assignment link. So only one person would submit the entire project at the end, and that would be your lead person. If you want someone like that, then you have to decide who that's going to be. Each team member needs to be responsible for their role in this project. You need to act professional with your accountability in completing your tasks in a timely fashion and accurately. And when I say accurately, that means that if you're writing a paper portion, that you put the right APA citation formatting in place in the element that you would submit for collation, and that the reference that you write is correct APA formatting, so that the lead person or your facilitator, whoever is going to collate all this information together, is not the person having to make all these fixes because you didn't do it right. So be accountable and make sure that you are providing accurate and correct information to whoever is the person that will collate the paper. And I'll get to that when I get to the paper part. With respect to your topic, this is a health promotion topic, and your group can choose whatever topic you want for this particular poster, but you have to have consensus of that. The next piece is that I've got questions that you have to answer, and that's the paper part. And you can divide these up within your CLT. Each person can take one, answer it, and submit it back to whoever's going to be the co-leader of it. And then the third element is you're going to design a poster based upon the information that you get by answering the questions. This will be a PowerPoint that you will put together in a poster format. So the formatting would be a PowerPoint slide, but it would be a blank slide with not any heading and title on it, just blank, and you would do inserts onto that. The actual slide size is going to change to make it like a poster size, and I've given you the information on how do you change the size of a typical PowerPoint slide into a poster size, because you'll need that poster size in order to get all the elements on there that you'll be able to see appropriately. So with respect to the paper part, this is a paper that your group will be writing, and as you can see, I've got highlighted elements, which are the headings. So there's the title page. So on the title page, you're going to have the title of what your poster is going to be called, the names of your group, and the date. Page number 2, we're going to have the title as the first element on the page, which of course comes under the running head. Title of your poster is, and then you go into the very first heading, which is health risk and issue. In this section, you're going to describe what the health risk is that your poster is going to address. So you need to identify that. And then you need to provide statistical data that illustrates that there is significance of this occurring. You'll need to cite 2 references in this section, and they need to be different articles or CDC website and an article, but you get my picture. They need to be different. And again, you can divide this up amongst your group, and one person can work on one question and submit the answers. The next piece is population. So you need to describe who the target population is that you're going to be addressing your poster for. So you'll need to do a literature search and focus on obtaining information about the health risk and prevalence related specifically to that population. Again, you're going to do more literature reviewing and what are the learning preferences for this population. And the next thing you're going to put into this section is what barriers are you finding from the literature that can impede change with this population that you're going to be working with, and how do those factor into the development of your poster. This section will require 2 references. What intervention are you going to try to promote in your poster. And you have to talk about that intervention and why you chose it and how it helps with the health issue that you're trying to work with that population. This just requires one reference. The literacy. Identify any special needs that the literature brings forward about how you need to design your poster for your population. Make sure to identify the literacy level that is most appropriate for your population, and you need to support that with the literature. The next session is lifestyle preference. Describe any lifestyle preferences or environmental factors for your target population that influence their engagement in health promotion for the intervention that you're trying to get them to use. The goal of your poster has to be identified. So you're going to state it here. So, what's the goal of your poster? And discuss how your poster design and content would empower your population to manage or improve their health. And then I need a reference page. The reference page must be in correct APA format. What I'm asking for you to do with respect to your references is write them in the correct APA format. And then at the end of the reference, so like after the page number or after the DUI, in parentheses and in a color, put the number of that reference. And if you use it on your poster at all, so because on your poster you have to have some statistics, just put the number on your here, so I know that that's where it is going to be on your poster. And we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. The reference page again needs to be in alphabetical order. The numbers will therefore are not necessarily going to be in sequential order, but they will occur only if you use that reference or that article as a supportive factor or feature on your poster. And now we're going to talk about the poster. Your poster can be anything you want it to be. I do need it to be creative though. The title of your poster needs to be the first thing. It should go across the top. I need to be able to see that this is the title and it needs to be catchy. Make sure that you are identifying the health issue and demonstrate the significance of that with some statistics. Make sure that you demonstrate the connection to the issue to your population you are addressing. And you can do this any way you want. You can use cartoons, you can use pictures, however you want to do it. But make sure I'm able to identify, oh, this is going to be for babies, or oh, this is going to be for a toddler, or this is for geriatrics. Well, however you can do that, get me to understand and see it. The intervention, you have to identify that intervention here on the poster, because this whole poster is about addressing a health issue and then getting your population to use this intervention to make a change for that health issue. So I really want you to be able to get in here and really have some fun with this. You can choose whatever intervention you want, but make sure you demonstrate it to me. You can use data to do that, anything you want. And then if you're using data or doing actual quotes, make sure you put that number right next to or right underneath it so I know where to go looking on your paper for it. Identify on your poster how somebody could ever overcome the barriers that you identified in your lit search. And probably best to put these close to the material that they relate to. And that's the websites for them. So resources to promote people going to those websites. If you're going to be using a website to help them, or you've got an app that you want them to use, provide them with that website. And you can put that in size 8 font or smaller right underneath that information. Be organized in how information flows. Use visuals, pictures, graphs, play with the font. You can use different types of font. The poster needs to be visually engaging. Make sure the colors are appealing and actually engage and draw you in. And make sure that the literacy level is appropriate for your population that you're trying to get engaged in this. This is a fun project for you to do. You've already got the majority of this information because you've already learned it. You've already been writing about it over the past several weeks. So you're just going to be pulling it together. I hope that you do have some fun with this. I will talk more again about this next week. As this week is about creativity, I thought I would leave you with a more of a menagerie, if you will, of different types of inspirational pieces. I hope that with this final project that you'll be working on with your CLT groups, that you're able to allow the freedom of your mind to go to the creative side and engage that right side of your mind and have some fun with this. I know there's a paper involved with that, but you can be creative with that too and then transpose that onto your poster. You guys have a great week. I'll see you online.